mysterious aura to it. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
It has been a little different because earlier, remember, it was all horror based, and now, um, like your call which I received, I saw in the
Right.
evening, and I saw that maybe it's not you because that PFP doesn't match your profile, like how you are. It is always horror. Now this is something sweet, sweet. So I was confused about it.
Wait, wait. Okay, are you talking about my WhatsApp profile picture? I think it
Yes,
still has
yes.
a skeleton on it, right?
Oh, I saw some scenery or something. Maybe okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
Oh no, 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 no problem, no problem. Yeah, yeah.
So, well, welcome everyone. Hope you all have been doing good, and welcome to this third episode of the Alt+Connect series. And well, this time we are with two people, two wonderful people who have been, I mean, they don't need introduction as such because you know them much better than me. Shreya, Shambhavi, and Satyaki Goswami. So, first of all, welcome you both, and thanks for coming.
Thank you,
And
Chitrapal, for this opportunity.
Thank you,
it's
Satyaki,
all
for
our
having
pleasure.
us.
Yes. So, first of all, that is what we every time do is that I'll just begin with whatever like your day has been like. So right now, what is the day in your life like? Like what have you been doing? What is all going in your life? Especially Shreya, you have been here after a long, long time. So it is first of all very good to see you back, and well, that's what piques my curiosity right now.
So, first of all, like we just got over with enter, so pretty much I've been sleeping for
Okay.
for 2 days, I would say. Then, apart from that, I would say my days. I'm trying to wake up early these days. Trying to. Uh, but it doesn't go as I, would like to. But yeah, then I would, you know, freshen up and I would like I'm planning, to like contribute as much time as I can productively. So I'll be
Hmm.
studying, going through certain books in between, and working on something like some little projects here and there. So apart from that, yeah, I would be I like reading, as you guys know. And yeah, so for now, I'd
Yes.
say this is pretty much what I am doing these days.
You've brought a very important question, I'd say, the book you're reading. We'll come to that question a little later on. But
Yeah.
one thing I really want to ask you, this decision of waking early, was it because you really wanted to do it? Was it because someone forced you to do it?
No, actually, I have felt that I am a morning person, but for a long time, I have not been following my schedule properly. And if I wake up early, I'm productive. I've observed that I'll be productive the whole day. And if I wake up late,
Mm,
I'll be sleepy, coffee,
yes,
like that. So, yeah, so that is what I'm trying.
that is very nice. I think I also had to start it, but let's see when it happens. And so, coming to you, Satki, uh, yeah, what is your life like and what is going on right now? How have you been?
Okay, so post-exam period is actually, like a small time period when I'm trying to get as much rest as possible. Like it includes
Mm,
sleeping and, sort of regretting your decisions and everything. So that so that
yes.
time period is there. Apart from that, I'm reading a book by Christopher Hitchens. The name of the book is Arguably. It's a set of essays by the late author, and I'm also working on a paper. So yeah, that like pretty much that encapsulates what I'm doing right now, like for the past few days.
So, the book you mentioned, what exactly is it about? Like, what sort of
So
story is it?
right. So Christopher Hitchens was a journalist. He was a journalist and an author, and he passed away. I think in the early days of this decade, if I'm not wrong. Do correct me if someone, if you can correct me in the chat box. So basically, it is a compilation of essays written by the late Mr. Hitchens, and it spans across many things, be it rationality, be it the geopolitical environment for the last few decades, and all those things. So it can, add to your knowledge of like how you perceive the universe in a very philosophical way as well as a materialistic way as well, the war and the politics that has been going on. So yeah, that is it.
That is interesting. And
Yeah.
Shreya, which book have you been reading right now?
Okay, so there's this one book which I have been suggested to read for a long time by Satyaki only over here. That is Frankenstein. So he has been asking
Okay.
me to read it, and I have tried to read it, but I'll just leave it because of exams and all the stuff we have. So right now I'm trying to finish it.
Oh, one thing about these books, so like, let's say whether it is Sherlock Holmes or whether it's Frankenstein, these books are so popular, they have been emulated so much in the movies, we always know the story about it. So, is it still fun when you know the climax of the story? Is it still fun to read? What is it?
Actually, the thing is, I have not watched Frankenstein in any of the movies or series. So it's not,
Oh,
something that I know about. So right now, it's interesting. But
then it is pretty good, I'd say.
yeah.
So, this literature journey of yours, which has you both have been pretty active, you've been reading books and everything. When did it start with? Like, was it something that was common in your household going in the when you were as a kid? Did you used to read books, or was it something you acquired over the years in school or somewhere around the circle that you've been? What is it like?
So I'll go first.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so for me, like, I used to read short stories first. I started reading stories. I read, I think, Arkin and Ryan's short stories in the beginning. And with that, I kind of researched a little bit and then I started reading other authors, other books as well. And with that, this love for literature, I found it that I really do like reading. And more about, it would be that I am in between. I like classics as well, but not that heavy because that they are
Okay.
challenging for me as well. So I do like reading classics and some contemporary books as well. So, yeah, I would say it started with short stories, and
Hmm.
here we are trying to read as much as it is possible.
Yes. And what was it like for you, Satyaki?
Like, uh, if so, I have been reading books, and books were being read to me since a very young age. So my mother and my father and my grandparents, like my grandmother, I never saw her. So they used to, read folklores and folk tales to me. जैसे होता है कि you are done with your supper and the kid has to sleep, so they'll read stories. So that is how it started.
Hmm.
Then of course I started reading comic books. I used to travel a lot, so train journeys were a big part in my life. So I don't know if I don't know what is the situation right now in the railway stations, but back then each and every station used to have a wheeler, and I used to buy comic books from there. So that also added to my reading habit. And I think the first like fully fledged reading that I had done of a novel was it was Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park when I was in sixth grade. So I had seen the movie and then I read the book, and it was like there was a hell and heaven wala difference. So I think that was
Hmm.
something. So it was a gradual process. Like the love of books, it was sort of a gradual process. I prefer to read classics usually, or something from the last millennium. I think the contemporary work that is being done in most of the language is very bad. So I tend not to read those. So yeah, that's all.
And coming to books, was it that you were also exploring the regional literature? Because Bengali literature is very, very rich. So, like, was it also a
Yeah,
part of the,
yeah,
yeah.
actually, I mean, coming from a Bengali household where books had a special place. So, like, my journey in literature started with English, Hindi, and Bengali. Because at school, I was reading English and Hindi. At home, Bengali stories were
Hmm.
being read to me. So yeah, it was simultaneously I was reading these three things, and actually I learned Bengali on my own by reading these books, because I used to spend a lot of time at school, and I lived outside Bengal. So like the only time I spoke Bengali was at home, right? So
Hmm.
like whatever Bengali I've learned from the books, the Bengali books. So yeah, that. And of course I like, as you mentioned, like regional literature is has a huge variety, so I also try to explore that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And coming to when you started writing, so like, okay, first of all, I'm not very aware of what exactly do you write about. So, do you write short stories? Do you write poems more? Which is one thing that you enjoy writing more? What is it?
So like like my favorite genre has always been science fiction, horror, and fantasy. So
Yes.
I tend to write. So I started writing like horror stories, long horror ones, and I eventually realized that it is a little bit trickier to write the short ones, which will hit you really hard in a short span of time. So I still try to
Hmm.
dabble in that area. Poetry is relatively new to me, and I feel that if someday, if like if I'm fortunate enough and I can make a name for myself in the field of writing, I would rather want myself to be recognized as a writer rather than a poet. So yeah, that is.
Okay. I mean, that is it to do something with you not liking the how do I put it? The freedom that poets use when writing poems, they change everything. There's too much over exaggeration. Is it because of a little dislike to it or something else?
I don't know if this is going to sound right. Okay, I'll just be honest. But I think the appreciation for poetry has, crossed a threshold where people cannot differentiate between good poetry and bad poetry, and everybody is a
Hmm.
poet nowadays, right? And so that is something that bothers me. So I would rather stick to a niche area and write horror stories. So, yeah, that is.
Horror stories in India are pretty rare, I'd say, and the good
Yeah,
ones. That is.
absolutely, absolutely.
No, much more interesting thing is the best horror stories you can find are the ones on railway stations.
True that.
The
True that. Absolutely.
the all the unknown ones are very good. I did
Right.
read once when I was in train, and the journey was at night, so it really added chills to the whole feeling of reading it.
I'm pretty sure it
But
must have been a memorable journey for you, right?
well, I wouldn't say so. Okay, in a way, it was
Right,
memorable, but not for the right reasons.
right, right.
But like the train hit a, never mind, shouldn't be discussing that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, but coming to Shreya, yes, you. How did your writing journey begin, and what do you dabble in, and why? Why is that the what you choose?
Okay, so first thing, I won't like really call myself a writer. I would say in this meeting only, we have plenty of like lots of people who write really well, and I personally, I tend to write when I'm, emotionally on a in a unstable thing. That when I'm really angry, when I'm really sad, then I tend to write a lot of things. But
Mm.
it's not like in a way that I would say I'll be sharing with everyone. Uh, so that is something there. So that's why I won't really call myself a writer, but I have, like read Satyaki's work and Swanya's hair, all these people. They really write well, and I love
Yes,
reading that.
yes, it's
It's
true.
mind blowing to think, when people can convey so much with very small, small lines, and it's
Mm.
beautiful, right? So yeah, that is something that I really enjoy.
That is true. So, was it like when you joined the degree, and what was I'm feeling that in that at the beginning itself, the place for literature wouldn't have been this prosperous as it is now. But the feeling of starting this society, this club, about the society which started as a club earlier. So this began with what motivation? There is that you wanted literature to flourish, but apart from that, what motivated you to do it in an online medium where the connections are just on Gmeet where you can't see the faces. So, what was the motivation and how did it pan out?
Okay, so the society, when it started as a club, that was way back in 2021, right? So at that time, I was a member of the Chavaram House Council. So we were kind of, we started clubs and all those things. And I was really
Hmm.
passionate about this literature field and everything. So I took this job to settle up, like, this club. And another thing I would say that I really wanted a common, safe place for all the readers. I wanted to know more people over here who like reading, and just get to know them and talk about it. So that is how it started. I would say that I have made really good friends over here, people that are really dear to me, with because of this society. So with time, uh, this I more and more people joined in, and they brought up more
Hmm.
diversity to it, whether in terms of their liking and their opinions. So that was really nice to have people who appreciate literature. And so I would say it has been a journey. It has been a really nice journey, and I really got to know a lot of people over here. And yeah, I would say that would be
Yes.
it.
So, with all the regular sessions that Saitika have been having, I think we've read about what 300, 400 books by now, or am I? Uh,
I think that would be like a lot. I guess it's not. Satyaki would be knowing the exact number. Satyaki.
I think we have definitely crossed the mark of 100 stories, including novels and everything. So yeah,
oh
um,
yes, okay.
yeah.
So, with all these like regular sessions we've been having, like, I remember this is like one of the few places where it is very regular with all the sessions, barring the 1 week before the exams. Every time there is a session going on. At the like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday sessions always go without fail. So with all these sessions going on and all the club work too going on, and you guys also having other degrees and other internships and stuff going on, and the academics that is. So was it very hard for you to do that, and how did you manage everything, and or was it just like a activity that you liked, so it didn't feel like a burden at all?
Yeah, I would
And
definitely say that it is something that we like, so that's why it won't be, it was never that it's a burden on us. But we have been lucky to have a really nice team who has worked towards it. So, all of us have divided the workload and have tried to help each other out at every point. So I would say that it won't have been possible to manage Sahityaka as well as our academics and everything else together if we were not having these nice people with us in our council.
yes.
So yeah, because of them, everything that has been possible, it's all because of them.
Okay, by the way, one thing to point out, if I'm sure most of you are already aware of it, but if you're not, Raj Meenakshi here, she is the current secretary of the club. So, and she is behind all the events that are being happening right now and what you've been seeing, and also all the Paradox events that are coming up. So, if you're coming to Paradox, and uh, if you do, please do participate in those. And there have been really beautiful events that have been planned out. So, do check it. And well, also one more thing I forgot at the beginning. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to write it in the chat, or maybe you can just raise your hand. Maybe we'll take it up if you like, because this event will keep it as open as possible, as candid as possible. So all the questions will also be taken in between, and I'll be going through those. So feel free for that. Anyways, coming to you guys, the stars of the hour. So there's one thing which regarding the academics. So it has been the case that well, not all subjects are everyone's forte. Not every subject gives the motivation to do it. But still, there have been subjects which you have to do all the subjects, that is. But which subjects were the ones that were particularly the ones you liked a lot and enjoyed? And also one more thing, with all the things going on and everything being online, how did you keep yourself motivated? Was there a study group that you had formed, and or was it just through your own sheer will 1 week before the exam that the motivation began? Or how was it like? Yes, over to you, share the first.
So I'll say like I'll take recent courses that I have really loved. Okay, I mean they have been really challenging, but at the same time they have been really interesting for me. That would be deep learning and reinforcement learning. These two.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, they are hard to understand at first, but they have been. I mean, I have once you get it, once you get it, you will enjoy it. Okay, so
Hmm.
definitely they are challenging. You have to, give your whole heart and brain towards it, to understand everything. But they are indeed, I would say, really nice things to learn. And yeah, for me, I would say that right now, for all the courses that I have done, these two are the recent ones that are really that I have really liked.
One thing about
And
this, like,
hmm.
yeah, sorry.
And I was just giving the answer for that small, study group. So, yeah, it's
Yes.
really important, to no one can stay motivated, throughout the week or throughout the time. You'll have like today, I don't want to study or something of that sort, right? So, it's just take little steps, try to just do a little bit every day so that in days that you really don't want to study, you have at least opened, solve a particular question or done in it. That's all. Okay? Just one
Hmm.
if you really don't want to study. So I would say that would be really nice to do.
Okay. I think I'll need to inculcate this habit though, because I've gone few weeks without studying and then trying to cover up all before the exams. That has been what the the trend in the last few terms. Um,
Right.
but there's one thing that has been mentioned to me a lot of times, and also it was mentioned in the last episode too. deep learning. About this, like most of the people, for most of the people, this is one of the favorite subjects going forward. It is hard, is what they say, but opens up a lot of doors, and it opens the worldview of data science matlab, as the whole. So is it because of the professors which are really good, the instructors, or is it that what is it that makes it, you know, being good, but what is it that makes it much better than being good?
And first and foremost thing, I would definitely give credit, for the liking of deep learning to the professor, like Mitesh professor. He has taught it really well. Keeping this whole course very engaging is difficult, and he has tried to done that, in a really beautiful way. I would say that is there, and. Yeah, you trying to do little by little, solving few questions and trying to code your own, neurons and deep learning things and stuff. So that kind of, once you understand that, okay, this is how this should be done, and how it sparks a curiosity in you, right? You'll be like, okay, what else can I do with it,
Hmm.
right? Can I do this, can I do that? There would be a lot of questions in your mind, and you would try to explore it. As with time, you would be like, okay, this is something that I can build later on, right? Or this is something that I can work on. Is this idea even possible in in this in this particular scenario? So questions like this would
Hmm.
spark curiosity for the course as a whole, and yeah, I think that would keep you motivated towards it. To learn the course, that little bit of curiosity that will spark. I would say that is important to keep you motivated.
Very well said. So, Satyakida, coming to you, and what has been that subject which has been like very the best which have studied till now, and the one that inspired your curiosity the most?
So, like, so there's this one thing that I would like to mention that, like, as you mentioned, Chatrapal, at the beginning, that like, every student would have some favorite subjects. Some subjects wouldn't be, very attractive to them as well. But at the end of the day, everyone has to do everything, right? Whether you like it or not.
Yes.
So I will just list out a few subjects across the 3 4 years that I have been here. So in foundation course, I think Math 1 and Math 2, especially Math 2, it was a beautiful subject. Okay. And then coming to the diploma level, I think MLF and MLT, they were the best subjects. MLF and MLT. So Math 2 was
Hmm.
cool, MLF, MLT. And in degree level, I think the most amazing subjects as of now. And I agree to what Shreya said. It makes you think and makes you put efforts. And those are deep learning and reinforcement learning. So these two subjects are pretty cool. Then there's another subject called algorithmic thinking in bioinformatics. So I think these three
Hmm.
subjects in the degree level have been like really amazing. So having said that, I think for me, I don't know if it could be same for many people, but I feel that like, coming from a background in physics, for me, I feel the subjects which are a little bit more equation oriented, I feel those subjects are much more catchy, much more attractive.
Hmm.
Because as Shreya mentioned that like, she liked deep learning because you get to know how can you build various neural networks and encoder, decoder, and all those things. But if it comes to me, my, like, I was fascinated by deep learning because I wanted to know the mechanism behind it, like how the math is working. So, like, we all like deep learning, but I guess we all had our own reasons. So for me, if a subject is mathematical, it becomes more attractive. If it has a lot of like, elaborate explanation and words and words and words, it sort of becomes a little bit
Hmm.
boring. So yeah, that's
So, by now, have you been converted into data science person from a science physics person? Is that so?
Not honest. Like honestly speaking, I'm much more like I find the theoretical part of data science and machine learning much more interesting. Like personally,
Hmm.
and in all honesty, I'm not that good at coding. I'm a little bit above average on a good day, that too. So I am more into the math of it. So I would rather say that I'm trying to merge, if I can merge these two fields in any way through any work. So that has been my aim as of now. So let's
Shreyansh mentioned he is fascinated by the idea of not learning. I would have been fascinated too, but alas, there's money involved and I cannot do anything. Sad.
see. Right, right.
But regarding this fascination of yours, I read that you had discovered an asteroid, and how helpful was data science in it, or how look, I'm not aware, frankly speaking, of how this process of discovering asteroids works. So, like, how did you do it, and what's the process that goes on? And was it like this data science was pretty helpful in analyzing the data that you collected from the telescopes you're using? How was it?
So that happened actually before I joined this thing, before I joined the degree.
Okay.
So it did involve a little bit of data analysis, but it was prior to joining this degree. And but yeah, rest, as you mentioned, we have telescopic images and all. We have to analyze them, look for movements which have not been recorded previously. So yeah,
Hmm.
so I found it in 2020. I joined the degree in 2021. So yeah,
So,
that is
do you have a telescope with you?
it. I don't have a telescope. I actually don't own one. I had the opportunity to operate a few. Apart from that,
Okay.
I guess living in an urban area doesn't let you use the telescope to its full potential because of all the pollution.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might buy one someday. Yeah.
That is one dream everyone has, I feel. Everyone wants to buy a telescope for the once in a life. Everyone wants to do that. But okay, so you've also been, as you mentioned, you're working on a paper right now. And for those who don't know, he has an MSc in physics and has also he has been the research intern at CSIR and Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and has been very passionate and active in the field of physics. But if I may ask, I'm a little curious because me being also from the physics background, that one thing piques my curiosity is that what exactly are you working on right now, and what's your uh, field about right now that you're working on?
Okay, so like currently, so do you know, like, so there are these things called neutron stars, right? So like when a
Hmm.
star goes, but like when a star passes away, it can turn
Yes.
into three things. Either it can become a white dwarf, or it can become a neutron star, or it can become a black hole, depending on the initial mass of the star. So I'm
True.
working on this one particular type of neutron stars, which are known as millisecond radio pulsars. So I'm trying to
Okay.
understand their evolutionary characteristics and all those things. So yeah, that is what I'm working on right
That is interesting.
now.
I
Yeah,
would,
it is. Yeah, yeah. It is cool. It is pretty cool. Yeah.
and Shreya, you also, if I'm not wrong, you have been a graduate in botany, and this field of yours, have you been working on it also currently, or you, like us, converted to data science, or how is it? Like, I've not had conversations with people from this degree earlier, the one that you've been done, but what exactly is the scope like in this degree usually for if anyone is doing it, and how is it? Is there any integration with data science that is present?
With integration with data science and biology.
Yes, specifically botany.
But okay, okay. So yeah, I have done another bachelor's in botany from Gagi College, University of Delhi. Um, so I have really loved some parts of it. Like I would say, I'm very passionate about genetics. I'm very passionate about molecular biology. bioinformatics and computational biology, and that is kind of that love for computational biology has led me here, I'd say.
Hmm.
So biology do intersect with uh, computer science, right? So there's this course that Satyaki mentioned, right? Algorithmic thinking in bioinformatics that is being offered
Hmm.
in degree level. That is, I also took it, and being a bio student, that was pretty much fun for me, I would say, to understand how basic genetics and molecular biology can be transformed, in terms of algorithms. When we can have graph theories, we can use it on, and certain algorithms can be used when we are talking about biology, right? It's not something that you see every other day. So
Hmm.
this is something. So I have been really interested in this computational biology field. So that has kind of sparked my curiosity for this when it comes to
Interesting.
mine. Yeah.
So, one more thing about this.
Hmm.
We've talked about the subjects that you've liked, as you mentioned, and but are there subjects that have really taken a toll on you that you felt like, okay, this subject, I better not ever see the face of it again? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, I would say definitely there are quite a few, right? I mean, when you don't get the grade you wanted, that kind of it hurts. You'll be like angry or the like the course itself. That this is bad. But yeah, there have been courses. I would say. And when I was in like I'm coming from a PCB background, right? So
Right.
when I joined the degree, so a little bit like stats 2 was a little bit difficult for me. So
Hmm.
that was something, I would be like, this is bad, or something of that sort. But later on, with time, when I, like started learning little by little, progressing, trying to understand, I think things are becoming easier. Right now, I'll say RL, like reinforcement learning, that has challenged us as well, like me as well. So
Hmm.
that, I mean, I liked it, but it was challenging. Okay, so
Yes.
it was something of that sort. So yeah. Uh,
And what has been that subject for you, Satyakita?
I think Java. I couldn't
Okay.
wrap my head around it. Okay. I mean, I know, like, without any disrespect, I know Java is one of the most important programming languages in the market now. But I couldn't, wrap my head around it. So, at after a point, I was like, I just want to get done with it. I was not even, concerned with the grade I'm getting in Java. Like, I just wanted to put the bare minimum effort, and I just wanted to get done with it. Yeah, so yeah, for me,
Actually,
yeah,
having completed Java just this term, I can relate with what you said. Because like it took me 3, 4, 5, 6, like 5 weeks to get the hold of it. Like why exactly are we doing it like this? Why are we taking more steps? And why is it that we are
right,
just for printing we need 6 lines?
right, right. True. It is exhaustive.
Okay, it is very much. But I think barring us few people, others would definitely enjoy it, especially if most of the people in this degree do come from the background of getting into programming later on. So I think
Right,
they would definitely enjoy it. One thing
right.
I do like about this degree as a whole is that it maybe it doesn't teach you a lot of content, but it does aim and it and whatever it aims is that to make you look into it, make you delve deeper. And I think if I'm not wrong, it does a pretty good job of doing that and much better than most of the entities there.
No, I would like to add to that, Chatrapal. I totally second that because like for
Hmm.
me, web development and all those things, like I've never done it. Okay, because I come from a
Hmm.
pure science background, right? So while doing the Mad One, like before starting Mad One and Mad Two projects, I was overwhelmed because I had to start it from scratch, right? But I
Yeah.
think you encapsulated it like beautifully, that one, like, this degree does challenge you. And once you start something from the scratch and you get done with it, that definitely boosts of your confidence. And no matter how hard the subjects, or any aspect of life in general come across, you have that confidence. Like
Hmm.
in my mind, I was like, dude, मेरा mad one कर लिया तो ये भी कर लूंगा. I was like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that I agree to that. Yeah.
Um, haven't talked about the academics part. There's one thing which is we students get the most that we get in a complete succession. The access to the campus is when paradox is happening. And if I remember correct, Satyaka also has a meetup there at the Himalayan lawn where we all meet. Sadly, I've never been a part of it because of my college, and probably this time I would be. But having said that, what are a few places in the campus that are very dear to you, which you definitely go to whenever you visit? Starting with you, Satyaka.
Okay. So definitely the just a second, please. Sorry.
Yes. Um, Shreya, would you like to continue?
So I'll in campus, I would say the food court, like at Himalaya MS, right? The food court,
Yeah,
and you can find us at Zaitun as well, and then like around NSC, uh, that area is
NSA as
pretty
in
beautiful. Uh, sorry,
NSA as in I'm not aware of it.
I don't remember its full form. So I think what this NSC's full form, I don't know. Like new academic block or
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I
okay.
really yeah. So that's there, and apart from that, I would say CCD. Right, CCD is also like place where everyone you'll find lots of people over there, and yeah, I mean we have conducted events at biotech rooms, right? So all those halls we have been
Hmm.
there. I would say that
We have
that.
also conducted an event in the Himalaya lawn, right? Last year itself. So
Mm-hmm.
Himalaya lawn is one of the
That's a
place where
lot.
you
Yeah.
can actually hang out, and then you have the cafe at the bottom of Himalaya Mess. I'm pretty sure Chhatrapal, you're going to like it this year. If you visit, you're going to like it. And
Yeah,
Zatun, yeah, as Shreya mentioned, right?
so I hope you both are coming to the paradox this year. Are you guys coming?
Most likely, yes, yeah.
Yeah, most probably.
Are okay. We hope that you do come, and the most likely changes to definitely. But let's see. Yes, fingers crossed. So having talked about it, there's one thing I would like to ask. Do you guys like traveling?
Like traveling.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, definitely that is something that I would like to do a lot, right? Uh, so that is, yeah, I would say definitely love travel.
Yeah, yeah, same.
And
I mean, I
what
do
about
like.
train journeys?
Yeah, I think train journey. Do you prefer train journeys, Shreya? I think train journeys are good, but
Ah,
like nowadays overnight journeys could be an issue because of the hygiene.
Mm,
So yeah, that is the only problem.
yeah. Why I ask this is because one thing I feel is even when someone is writing, writing comes from all the experiences that we've had. And one thing that actually builds is the traveling, and especially train journeys. I've seen there have been a lot of stories. Train journeys in itself are very picturesque, very scenic. I don't know why, but they build this sense of hope and that something good might happen, something new, something, you would have some very out of the ordinary experience, something like that. I don't know what this is about the train journeys, but I think this is with all the traveling that is. And having said that, is there a specific part of you where the books that you've read or the writings that you've had, was it inspired by your traveling? Was it inspired by very specific, let's say, events in your life? Was it the reason behind your writing or behind it, the books that you read? I hope I didn't make a mess of the question, but yes, Shreya, if you would like to go.
Okay, so I have really not given a thought of about it, as in where journey is playing particular role. Um, yeah, so that was a really interesting question, Satyapal, I would say. But I don't think I have. I mean, you explained it beautifully. I was like in awe that, right? That is something. Yeah, for me, I have really not given a thought about reading in terms of journey. I think Satyaki would be able to answer this, nicely.
Shatrapal,
Yeah.
I totally agree to you because I remember like some of my writings during my MSc days were actually inspired by the fact that like I was in the hostel and I could see the locals were leaving for home on weekends. I could not, right? So
Hmm.
when you're living away from home, after a point, all the fun and everything, it just vanishes and you become homesick. So yeah, things like
Yeah.
that sort of influenced the stuff that I wrote. And I have visited a few places, like really beautiful places, which had like I have those things etched in my mind. So I try to write about those things as beautifully as possible, because I feel that if I'm not doing a perfect job, I won't be doing justice to that particular place if I'm writing about that place, the way it is described.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I totally agree, that like not only where you are traveling, like wherever you are staying for a long period of time, and if it is away from home, then it definitely tends to have some sort of an influence of on what you are penning down. So yeah, that is
Hmm. And okay, you usually write horror stories,
right.
and the longing you mentioned for home and the homesickness.
Right.
How would you translate it into a horror story? Because I can see fantasy, I can see romantic books written about it, but how would one write a horror story about it?
That is a very good question. Okay, so you can actually take the example of suppose I was doing my masters when I was in Karnataka. Okay, so of course I'm from Bengal. I
Hmm.
was living in Karnataka, and as I mentioned, the localites, they used to go to their home on weekends, right? So it was just a bunch of non-locals who used to stay back, and the
Hmm.
majority of students being localites, at least in terms of the hosteliers and all those people. So many a times, like it's like if you're living with three guys and then two of them just leave, so the whole room is yours, okay? But there is some sort of
Hmm.
a loneliness, which kind of uh, tries to engulf you. And I mean, loneliness can be, if you're I don't remember, but I remember hearing it somewhere that there's a difference between being alone and being lonely, right? So it is
Right.
quite cool to be alone, but when you start feeling lonely, that can be a little bit horrific, because in the most simplest terms, the littlest noise might inject some sort of a curiosity or some sort of a reaction that like, "Ye kya tha? Arey, what was that?" If you are with people, you would be like, okay, like you when you are among people, you wouldn't be noticing the littlest things which are happening around you. But when you are alone and when the sun goes down, every little thing, every little shadow looks like something that is there to eat you up. So a
Hmm.
horror story based on that could definitely be like keeping all the monsters and all those things in backdrop, a horror story would be based on loneliness, that how scary loneliness could be. So yeah, I think that could be one way to write about it.
That is interesting. I mean, if I had to put it, would it be right to say that someone who is not lonely would not be scared from ghost or anything so paranormal? And when I say lonely, as in you, how you mentioned, not alone but lonely.
Right. I mean, if you're alone and if you're engaged in something, then you wouldn't be paying heed to whatever is happening around you, right? Like many a times, I
Mm,
used to stay alone and I used to just play games or watch something. I never paid any attention to what is going on outside my room and everything, right? Or in my room. So, but sometimes when there's nothing to do and you're just sitting idle, at that moment start realizing and sort of acknowledging your surroundings, and you realize that the trees which were looking really green and really cute at the
yes.
morning, they don't look that friendly at night. So yeah, that is it.
This particular fascination of yours with horror. I mean, yes, Shreya, you were saying something.
I was just like seeing my room.
Oh, okay. Oh, so what I was saying. Okay, yeah. So yeah, this particular fascination with horror. Um, like, why horror? Why not romantic novels that usually people like? Or maybe even if it is the mystery that you're liking, why not just the mystery thriller that are? And why a specific inclination towards horror? How did it stem? Where from exactly?
So there's this quote by this like one of my favorite authors. I'm pretty sure you have heard me talking about him. His name is H.P. Lovecraft, and he has this beautiful quote. I cannot probably exactly tell you the quote, but it was something along the lines of the fact that fear is one of the earliest emotions, like most primal emotions human beings
Mm,
have had, right? Like from the time we were in caves and now we are in this urban jungles, fear is something that has always been constant. And and not just fear, especially the fear of the unknown, right? Fear of the like what is in there in the darkness, what is out there in the jungle, right? So if you read any horror story on everything, like either you are talking about some sort of entity that has inhabited your surroundings, or something that is out in the jungle, or out in the castle and everything. So it is always the fear of the unknown. So I think that is something that I found really mysterious, right? And
mm,
that would be one reason. And another thing was, like, as I mentioned, my journey into books started with folklores and folk tales. And no matter what region you're coming from, most of the folklore and folk tales will be having monsters and all those things, right? Ghosts and chudal and all those things.
yeah.
So I think that also adds to this this fantasy of mine. And I think there's one third point. I don't know if it is technically accurate to mention it, but I feel that like, if you look at it from a from a bird's view perspective, no matter which region you belong to, no matter which part of the world you are coming from, all the folklores and all the folk tales are tied together by one common element, that is the fear of the unknown, and fear of monsters and all those things. So if you dig deeper
Yeah.
into it, if you try to do some sort of a research on these folklores and folk tales, you'll find that various monsters and various such entities actually subconsciously stand or symbol they symbolize something that was very rampant or relevant at that point in the society. So it also tells you
Mm.
about societal evolution as well, which is not very apparent. But when you dig deeper into horror stories, you start finding a pattern. So yeah, I think that was very interesting. So yeah, that,
Quite fascinating. And having said that about horror, there's one more thing that I do not understand about literatures. And that is people liking romantic novels. Blame it on me because that is a personal thing, and I do not usually get why. And it's always too over the top, not very realistic. And especially which has been the case in most of the like the famous romantic literature, starting with Romeo and Juliet. How unrealistic it is, and how whatever it is about, you guys know better than me. So why is that people like this more? What is that they see in it, in romantic novels particularly?
I think Shreya would be the perfect person to answer that. I don't read those. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think there is, a yearning, like a human yearning for companionship, for love, I would say. But it's not, there are unrealistic books, obviously, that, as you mentioned, like, Romeo and Juliet and everything. But you have to think about it in a way that it is unrealistic right now. Okay, like in this time, in this era, maybe when it was
Hmm.
written, right, back then, it wasn't that unrealistic. Right. If you take,
Hmm.
I mean, I have, like in the beginning, you mentioned Pride and Prejudice, right? There are books like Emma and all I've read those books, and, all of them, I would say right now, when you read it, uh, it might sound a little bit, slow and maybe like off, right? That what are they looking for here and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But I try to imagine as someone in that time. Okay, like someone in, I mean, I am personally a really big fan of 18th, 19th century, periodic or historic periods. Okay, so the books on
Hmm.
that time, whether it's romance or whether it's thriller or anything of that sort, I really appreciate that time period. Actually, I'm really into, like, the series and movies of that time that are depicting that time. So when you think about it, in that time, being in that time and era, it feels different. Okay. I mean, that we are talking about few centuries back, right? And it was totally different back then.
Yeah.
So I tried to relate it in that sense, okay, with
What
time.
issue I have usually is like,
Yeah.
let's say about all the promises that one makes. So let's say Romeo
Mm.
says, he makes all the promises to Juliet and stuff. But I think this narrative has also been going on right now. But same thing what I have is, they'll make very lofty promises, but that's only because it's like they're dying for the love. But when you're living for that, it becomes much more harder. And all the romantic novels, not, but the literature as a whole in romance, it is more about dying for the love, but not living, and because that would be much harder. So is it true, or is it something? Why is that people like that aspect of love more?
That gives a heroic side to it, I would say, like dying for something. Like,
Sorry for
but
that.
here I'm
Yes.
interested in songs as well. So I would say that dying for love and all those things. I think that gives a heroic part to it, right? A heroic
Hmm.
touch to it. That is fascinating for a lot of people. So definitely, choosing to live is the logical answer to it, but it's not heroic, right? So people
Hmm.
who are crazy, they would be going for that.
So, what has been your favorite novel, like from all the ones that you've read till now?
Okay, I'll say Wuthering Heights. It has been really nice. Okay, I read it and I was like, oh, towards the end, I was also given a spoiler about it when I was reading it. But that book was really nice. You know, that whole story. I really liked it.
Have you also watched the movies of it?
No, I have not.
Then I think it is already good because most of the people they're all against the movies because they don't do justice. I mean, could you tell me a little about the novel though? Because I only vaguely remember it. I haven't read it myself, but like, what is it about exactly?
Okay, yeah. So I also read it like way back. Okay, so I have forgotten the name of the characters. So there was Heathcliff, and think it was Elizabeth. Okay, so it's
Hmm.
I think Elizabeth was in Pride and
Yeah, it
Prejudice.
was Catherine. Catherine.
Okay, it was Catherine, right? So
Hmm.
uh, so they were since childhood they were together, and they had this friendship around them as well, and with time it became really strong, and but obviously everyone around them were not you know up for what they are having, their feelings for each other.
Hmm.
So they had to go through difficult times, and I am really not trying to give spoilers here because people might
Yeah.
read it in future, right? So they, so there was this longing, this longing in them for each other because of all the difficulties they went through, and later on, one of them like part ways, right? So
Okay.
then the next generation comes in, so that is like this whole story is built up around. And when you see Heathcliff's character in it, in the book, it's passionate, it can be dark at times, but it's something you like. I mean, I liked.
Hmm.
So yeah, I hope I didn't
That
give
is
any
interesting.
spoilers. Yeah.
No, no, no. I could see very selectively choosing the words to not give the spoilers. But
Yeah.
I, actually, what has happened was long back. I'm not proud of it, but I was a fan of reading movie plots on Wikipedia. So, and I had read about Wuthering Heights, and now that you mentioned
Yeah.
the character's name in a part of it, now it all comes back to me. So I think I already have the spoilers again back in the mind.
Okay.
I'll have to wait like 2 more years to forget it again. Coming to you, Satyakida, which one has been your favorite book or even short story that you've read till now?
Bro, I'm, that is a very difficult question to answer. Like, I literally cannot put a finger on, particular book. Like, it's a huge list. I can, like, if I name one, I will be probably doing injustice to another one. So, yeah, it's
Okay, I'll
like that.
change this question a little.
Right.
Which book or story was it that uh, kept you awake the longest? Like every successive day you had to, it came back to your mind. It didn't let you sleep, something like that.
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Lord of the Rings, yeah. I think that would be one series which I feel, if you ask me if there is one that I would read again and again and again, like my favorite, then I think that is going to be the closest competitor. Lord of the
Hmm.
Rings, like all those books. So yeah, that's the series. It's beautiful. I don't think there's like when it comes to English literature, there is no book better than Lord of the Rings. If you ask me, I'm pretty sure everyone has their own opinion. When it comes
Yeah.
to like, there's another very underrated writer, not because he is not read well enough, but because he comes from a regional area. So there was this Bengali author. His name was Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay, and
Hmm.
I think his work has to be explored on a global level. I mean, you might know that Satyajit Ray had won an Oscar. The movie he made was based on Mr. Bandyopadhyay's work. So Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay, I think his stories, he has written short stories, he has written long stories, he has written quite a few novellas. I feel his work should be explored on in like through the non-Bengali region as well. So he's probably one of the
Hmm.
most underrated author that I have ever come across. Not in terms of not having enough readers, but not having enough readers on a global level. So yeah, these two things. Yeah, yeah.
Which one was the like the movie which you're talking about that won Oscar of his?
It was
Which one was it?
Pother Pachali. Pother Pachali. You might find it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. This brings me back to Lord of the Rings. It is probably going to be the next book which I'm going to read. And sadly, I'm not proud of it, but it is because of a spoof that I read. So
Right.
I'll also post it.
I remember you had shared it with me. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah,
Oh, that was a very good book. So that
yeah.
is one of the books that brought me back into reading by myself.
Right, right, right.
So I mean, I'll just
Do
tell the name. It is, yeah, you were saying something.
no, I was
Sorry.
saying that do read Lord of the Rings. It's beautiful. It's best piece of English
Actually,
literature.
I had been
Yeah.
Actually, I had been keeping it aside because it was so big and three volumes and
Right.
such. I wasn't reading regularly as such, and because of that reason, I kept it aside. But now, having read Board of the Rings, okay, the spoof is called Board of the Rings by
Right.
it is by Howard Lampoon. There's a group that writes it, and having read just the what first chapter of it, where they have the specific song, the anthem for the Boggies. That made me realize that I have to read Lord of the Rings, and probably that is why it will be the second book going forward. But okay, enough about me. There's one thing which, uh, as we had talked about it, I would really love for you to share one horror story with us, and I think everyone else would agree. They'll be very glad to hear one too.
Sure, sure. I would love to do that. Like by the end of the session, I can do that. That's
Okay. Also, one more thing, guys. Right now, we'll be taking up the questions from you. So, if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand. We'll call you here, or even you can write it in the chat. Okay, I'll also see once what all questions we have.
While you guys were talking about the book that was heavy, I just remembered this particular book. We were reading A Thousand Splendid Suns in our sessions. And
Yes.
I remember, I think we read it in 2021 only or 2022. Okay. And I remember all of us. It's a very beautiful book. I won't give any spoilers again, but I would just say that after finishing that book, like everyone who all was in that meet, all of us were sobbing. So I just remembered that book because, it connected lots of people through this online virtual medium while we were reading together. And the emotion was same for everyone. All of us were crying. So definitely read that. I mean, I have other recommendations as well, but this would be one. Really, it's a very, It's written in very simple language. It's not difficult to read, and you would enjoy it.
Is it the one which has the protagonist is a girl from Afghanistan, or is it based in Afghanistan, something like that?
Yeah, yeah. It's based on a friends. You
Okay.
have read it?
I'm
You have
again really
read
sorry.
it on Wikipedia?
Yes, I was
Okay.
okay. Either about either of this or of Kite Runner. I've read one of these two,
Okay.
so I'm not sure which.
Okay.
Okay, Adarsh has a question. Okay, he wants to know how many courses you've got badges and क्या आपने LinkedIn में post किया था उसको? Okay, yeah. If you would like to take it up.
I'm not sure. मतलब मैंने कभी बैचेस वाला देखा नहीं एंड लिंक्डइन पे
Same.
ब्रो, हाँ लिंक्डइन पे मैं पोस्ट नहीं करता कुछ भी, मतलब not yet. I see. I think it is important to post things on LinkedIn, but I have not done it as of yet. और badges का bro मेरे को idea नहीं है. Like I've never checked it.
And how has it been with you, Shreya? Did you also check? Because personally, I don't remember myself checking the badges.
Yeah, I mean, I remember opening it way back when it was introduced, right? Checking what is exactly there. Okay, I remember that, but yeah, people posting it on LinkedIn about completing a course or something. I have not really done that, so yeah, that would
Yes.
be it. I have not posted about it on LinkedIn.
Okay, there's one very interesting thing that just came to my mind about LinkedIn itself. So now we have seen that LinkedIn people have, started writing very long posts and they're trying to make it as creative as possible. They're trying to get attention. It has become sort of an influencer background with which they're writing. Can it be translated, like for a person who writes on LinkedIn, can it be translated into, let's say, a proper writer of literature? The, can it be monetized in that way?
I think it is possible because Swan was here a few moments back. Swan has recently written a poetry book, right? It's a compilation of his work, and he had actually posted it on LinkedIn. So that is actually an interesting question because usually you don't see the artistic side of people on LinkedIn, right? People are usually
Hmm.
talking about the technical things and everything, right? So I think it can be done, and one can actually follow, like, if you guys are interested, I'll probably in Sahitika WhatsApp group, I'll share that post or I'll ask Swan to share his post. It is a really, well written, structured post about how he finished a book, right? Writing a book, how it is a compilation of the poems he has written, and he has given a very objective, filter to it, so that he could post it on LinkedIn. So yeah, I think that is doable. Yeah, you can also put your literary accolades on LinkedIn as well. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, one last question I have right now before we move on to something that I think everyone is waiting for. Being someone who hasn't written much or who hasn't explored his writing side, or maybe let's say just the reading part of not haven't explored reading as such. What would you say would be the best place to start with? Like, what mindset do you need to become a good writer or to become a good, knowledgeable person in literature as a whole? And why is it necessary? You know, at this point in a degree which is more technical, like ours, why is it necessary that we have that in us? Um,
Okay.
Satyakita, if you
So
would like to.
okay. I don't want to prolong this answer, but how many of you have seen this one video with Javed Akhtar? It has Javed Akhtar and a few stand-up comedians. Have you guys seen
The
that?
one which has chili of the language.
Right. So
Yes.
like I would like to begin with the last question that you asked, right? That in this technical era, in this scientific era, why literature is important, like why one should indulge themselves into literature. So then again, this example was given by the legendary Javed Akhtar. So he said that in our day-to-day life, we have heard of these slogans, right? That save animals, save tigers, save honeybees, and all those things, right? But and that is, of course, that is a consequence of poaching, right? Tigers are being hunted and killed, and other big animals are being hunted and killed, right? So, but there's one thing that has never been discussed in terms of the cancel culture, if you may, and
Hmm.
that is fishing. Okay, because and he mentions, Mr. Akhtar mentions that fishing is a very tranquil sort of experience. You gather with your friends near a pond or a river, you're sitting there having your drink, chilling, discussing stuff with them, right? Like you are, like it would be good if you have retired or something, you're just having a fun time with friends, right? And you're
Yeah.
fishing, you catch one fish, you put it in your bucket, right? And everything. So it sounds a very, very nice, very leisure like activity. But then you look at it from the point of view of the fish, right? And Chatrapal, what is your favorite snack?
Not fish. I'm a
But
vegetarian.
something else.
Okay. My favorite snack would be uh, just a simple bhujia packet. That does good for me.
Okay. Suppose you enter a room and you see a bowl of bhujia, okay, and you grab it, okay, and you start eating it, and as you
Hmm.
put the first bite, as you take the first bite, right, a handful of bhujia, you feel like a real pain inside your mouth, right? And while you are trying
Hmm.
to process what has happened, you start moving upwards. Someone is reeling you up, right? And then after crossing a certain threshold, you can't even breathe now. You have this immense pain, right? You cannot tolerate because something has been pierced in your mouth, and you have been reeling. You are being reeled up, and now you can't even breathe, right? And then somebody
Hmm.
puts you down on the floor while you still have that kanta inside you, and they start chopping you up, right? They start peeling your skin off. Now that is fishing from a fish's perspective. Okay, so Javed Akhtar encapsulates it beautifully. That there is a reason we have slogans like "Save Tiger" and "Save this animal, save that animal." We don't have like "Stop fishing" or "Save fish." That is because fish, they can't scream, right? So the fact that they
Hmm.
cannot make any noise, there is no thought process beyond barring fishing, right? Nobody is putting efforts to stop fishing because because fish can't scream. So that is the importance of literature in our society. Not just literature, any form of art. The any form of art, including literature, is the voice of the society. And if you don't have a voice, if the society doesn't have a voice, a collective voice, then it will just become a tranquil thing for people to exploit, just as we do when we are fishing. Someone will exploit it. Like he says that like your suffering is their tranquility. So that is why
Hmm.
art and literature are important in any society, and one should try and indulge themselves into it. Yeah.
And coming to how one should begin with, like what thought process, what mindset does one require for it? And secondly, how to enhance it? What are the steps that you take for it? Like writing, or maybe even it being reading books, becoming a better and a more regular reader. So in both these things, what do you do for that? Any
Um,
suggestions from you guys?
I think this is going to be very subjective, but there is one thing that you definitely should not do, and that is reading self-help books. Don't read self-help books. Okay, they're never going to get
Okay.
you anywhere. Okay, Rather you read something from like proper literature, because they are going to help you more. They will help you become a better person. No self-help book has ever helped anyone. Okay, so yeah, the best you can do with a self-help book is, eat probably bhel puri, and that's all. Now the thing is, and of course, like any other thing that you do, it can be doing mathematics, it can be doing uh, it can be, playing cricket. Anything that you learn through practice, right? Writing has the same thing. But there's one more thing to writing, that you can be a good writer if and only if you are a voracious reader. So the more you read, the better you write. And but you have to keep on writing. And yeah, that is the only way. Like there's no hidden, like there's no secret ingredient. It's just your habit of reading good, and your and if you read good, gradually you'll start writing good. That's all.
And Shreya, what suggestions do you have for this?
I would say when someone is beginning to read, then they should start with simple. Okay, they should start reading simple things. If you are not someone who can really read a big novel, start reading small short stories. Okay, in a very simple language, start reading it. Once you get the hang of it, with time, you'll see that you are able to read more pages, right, with time.
Hmm.
And in that sense, choose any of your favorite genre, okay, whatever you like, just read it. If it's a short story, then also it's fine. If it's a short novella, then also it's fine. But just try to read it. Obviously, you don't have to finish something in a day. With time, you'll get the hang of it, right? You'll start reading. You'll see that in a month you're reading 4 pages in a day, something like that. It will increase eventually without you even realizing. So I would say that, start with very simple and
Hmm.
pick any of your favorite genre and just read. So
And to add to this, if you have trouble reading, you can always join the reading sessions of Satyaka.
finish.
So with this, I am mostly out of the questions, but there's one thing which still lingers in my mind. Okay, Adarsh Pradhan has a question. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So as you said that you are out of question, I just you can ask them about. Um, I mean the motivation behind Satyaki Bhai's amazing reading skills. Like
Okay, how did I forget this? This is a very good thing. Actually, both of you, I've seen Shreya hosting the events in the past paradoxes sometimes, and the way she manages it, and matlab, you have a mix of authoritative, but also a very kind angle in your way you speak. So that, and then Satyaki Das, the way he makes a listener, the audience, wanting to listen more to it, and how beautifully you have a sort of, how do I put it, ease with you the way you read. How did you develop it, and what's the secret behind both of these techniques that you have?
So I'll say that this is something that I'm passionate about. I like when it comes to like literary events or anything that Sahitika has done in the past. It was something that I loved doing, right? So as uh, as someone who likes to take steps towards certain things, if I want something to get done, I would try to work towards it. So uh, with I mean, I would say that was very kind of you, okay, the way you mentioned.
Mm,
And so it's something that have been always passionate about since my school days, I would say, and even in my like college when I was in Delhi. So I think it is, with time I have got, I guess,
Better.
somewhat better at it. Uh, I remember that in school I used to get nervous about it as well, right? So I think with time it has happened, and it's something that I am passionate about. I love talking about. Uh, so yeah, that would be
It
it
always
from my
helps.
side.
Okay, so Shreya's story, like what Shreya told right now, that is really wholesome and everything. Mine, mine is not that good. Okay, so okay. I mean, I am a student of KV. Okay, Kendriya Vidyalaya. So I know Manu is also from KV. I don't know about others. So technically, KV is an English medium school. But if you have studied in KV, you would
Yes.
know क्या होता है वहाँ पे, right? So the thing is that we never conversed in English. At least I like see right now we are talking in English for the sake of for the audience because in order to reach a greater population. But
Hmm.
usually we don't, right? And same was the thing. Same was the case when I was in school. So whatever I learned it from movies and I learned it from whatever animation I was watching, right? So any sort of movie or any sort of animation had that theatricality in their conversations. So I never picked up English from from a normal person. I am picking it up from I don't know from watching Ben 10 and Pokemon and Jurassic Park, right? So all that.
Okay.
So yeah, so so that is the source of the problem, for the lack of a better word. The way I speak, it sounds theatrical because that is the only way I learned. And like when I read something in my head, like I'm reading a book, I read like that. Like it is like that. So yeah, like I have no like wholesome story behind it. It's just the failure of the system and my addiction to Western pop culture. Yeah.
That is also one interesting thing because sometimes like you're practicing in with yourselves like right now when you mentioned that you put a lot of theatricality into when you're reading it alone by yourself, maybe doing that helps you do it better and with more ease on stage because you've already done the worst you could do, and you've like open all your vocal cords well for the saying for reading out whatever you're reading out on the
Right.
stage.
Yeah, that could be the case, probably subconsciously. Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. No, does anyone else also have a question? Because to remind you guys once again, once the questions and then is the time it is time for you to dim the lights and listen to Satyaki narrating a horror story. Okay, ask him to do a workshop on reading. Actually, that is a very nice idea. You could do that, and that would be very helpful actually.
That is awfully nice of you guys, but like I can assure you guys will be disappointed. Trust me. It's it, it's like for real. I'll be joining with you and I'll probably start talking about अरे तुमने वो देखा, अरे ये book पढ़ी, अरे वो movie देखी. So it is like that. Yeah. It is never going to be fruitful. I mean, the fact that I know, like here, I know you, Chhatrapal, I know Swan, I know Adarsh, and I know Manu, and so that is the thing. I mean, it will never work out because I'll start talking to you guys about stuff and everything. So yeah. But like there's another point to it, that is that like I have heard you guys speak in the reading session. I've read stuff written by you, especially Swan here. So you guys have your
Mm.
own you guys have your own flavor, your own niche. And these things are so organic that you cannot probably acquire them over the time. Or even if you're trying to acquire it, you might lose, like, there you might either lose some part of it or some sense of individuality. So, I think it's always better to, uh, like, when you are reading or narrating, just be yourself. That's the main thing. That's all. And apart from that, we can all always have a discussion about stuff and, get insights from each other. So, yeah.
Rightly said others. That is a perfect answer. So before we begin, we know the side of you, Satyaki, the one that loves horror stories and the one that has a lot of horror stories. But I've not known as much about it from you, Shreya. So what is it with you? Have you had any experiences like that, or do you revel listening to these stories? What
Actually,
is it?
I'm not someone who's really into horror. Okay. So I remember, in some reading sessions way back, we would be, discussing some horror stories, and we would be watching some horror clips. They were little disturbing for me. I would be like, no, don't show me this. I have to sleep, right? I mean, because I'm someone, I'll keep on thinking about it. Okay? And that is something. So I'm really not a horror loving person. I can listen to stories, but when it comes to, seeing something like a video or something of that sort, not really my cup of tea. I'll I'll be thinking about it the whole time. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, that is weird coming from the person who organized Spooktacular Nights, who was the
Uh,
host.
I can listen to stories. I told you, right? I can listen to stories because, when I'm listening to stories, uh, it's not that I won't be. I would say I am not that fan of jump scares that are there in videos and all that stuff. Stories, they don't really have that kind of jump scare, and the way Satyaki would narrate it. It would be like, oh, that is happening, right? Where is this
Yes.
person going? Okay, it's like a build up, right? It's interesting to listen to, and yeah, so stories I can when it comes to horror, but videos, etc.
So has anything happened with you in real life too? Like some incident?
No, actually, I don't really believe in like horror and all that. But
Yeah.
it is something, when I was little, I'll tell you something. When I was little, it's not just about, paranormal thing. When I was little, I saw Jurassic Park, right? And
Mm.
while I came to bed, and this like one window, it was open. I was imagining that there is a dinosaur over there that's going to, eat me up or something. I was very small, okay, guys. So, that is something. It's something that I can imagine. Specifically, if I watch something that I was like that had this jump scare kind of thing, right? So it's not about just paranormal activities. It's just this feeling. I'm really not sure
Hmm.
if I'm putting it, right in words, but
Right.
yeah, like stories I can listen because they can be interesting with the flow. It's going with the flow, right? So it's good.
That reminds me that we should be doing some. Well, it has been 3 long years with the paradox happening, and there has been no planned jump scares for people on in paradox. So I
Okay,
think
I
we should
remember,
be.
Satyaki, there's this spot in the campus, like that is considered a horror paranormal spot or something, right? And Satyaki took
Okay.
us there, like a group of us. Uh, we were there. So he has done all these things in like on campus as well. He would take us to If you guys remember that there was Natchiket, right, in the group. He was writing this story of pushing me into some well. I don't know if you guys remember. It was that well that he was
Yeah,
talking about. Yeah, it was that well that we went to see, like, on campus. So,
there's a well in the campus. Then I think I
I
have a
think
lot of places to visit.
I think Satyaki made that he searched about those places and he made that place famous. After we visited, I have heard lots of people visiting over there. I think, oh, I'm going there. So that was interesting.
You know, campus in itself is so big. You could just go to it. It has a forest at the sides, if I'm not wrong. And
Like, not
like,
at
are
the
we allowed to
sides, like,
go there?
Uh,
Hmm?
I mean, the national park, there's no, like a particular boundary to it, right? That's why
Okay.
animals can roam around in campus as well. So the
Hmm.
campus, it's very green, right? It's very green, and that's I would say it's one of the best part about it. It's
Yeah.
right, it's beautiful and mysterious at night as well. So that's really
It's
nice.
just a little sad that you cannot pet the animals there. But
You cannot
anyways,
what?
you cannot pet the animals.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah. What are the events that have been that are being conducted by Satyaka, this paradox? Could you give us a little light on that?
So I would say me and Satyaki are retired though, so
Yeah.
we really are not into the administrative things right now because
Okay.
nobody. These would be better to answer that.
Okay. Raj Meenakshi is not here at the moment, but okay, you can maybe ask her in the group. She'll
Yeah.
probably uh, give a detailed answer about everything. But yes, okay, then we have the man of the second hour of this meeting right now. And Satyaki, there's okay. I would see. I personally, I would want you to go as many with as many stories as you have, but I'm sure that would be very taxing on you too, and it would be very bad on the stories that you say because we won't have time to think about it, which will make it more horror. But there's one story if it is possible, the one in the the college that was there near Kolkata, the one where your friend's brother or someone studied. You had narrated that story once, so I would really love to hear it once more. And anything, second one, I would anything that you have, because we've heard one story about yours, one story of yours, which we have heard a lot of times, the one with uh, on the hilltop where the lady is there. So, well, now it is up to you, whichever stories you choose, but we are very excited to hear it.
That's really kind of you, Chatapa. Like, are you talking about the medical college story? Or
Oh, was it Ramakrishna Paramans missions?
okay. I do. That is why I, sort of asked you because I had one cousin who was studying in medical college and one was studying at Ramakrishna Mission. So, yeah. Yeah, so the Ramakrishna Mission ones, yeah, those are actually a little bit creepy. So, you know what? Let me turn the lights off.
Wait, okay, mine's already off, so it works. Satyakita, you have become invisible at this point. There's just a chair visible.
Right. Does that make it more spooky? I should probably, take off the
Right?
filter. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if it is doing any. Let me increase the brightness. Yeah, it is in full brightness. You can see my hand, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
my
I can
glass.
see.
Right, right, right. Okay, so fine. Thank you, Chatrapal, for this stage. Okay, and like when it comes to telling horror stories, I rarely shy away. So I would like to. I don't know. I would like to do justice to the story. Let me just have a sip of water.
Yes. Okay. Guys, everyone
Okay.
else present here, if you would also turn on your cameras and join in this ambience, that would be great.
By the way, are you sure you want to record this? But because I don't like if you are recording, then I won't take the name of the college. That is what.
Um, mm, I mean, that's up to you. If I can stop the
Okay.
recording right now.
No, no, it is totally up to you. I mean, you. I mean, if you want to continue the recording, I can just skip the name of the college, and if you are turning it off, then I can definitely take the name. So yeah.
Okay, I think then let's record this one.
Okay. Fine. Fine. Fine.
Okay.
So, before starting with the story, okay. So, see, you guys, you need to understand one thing. Something that we were talking about a few minutes back, and that is, uh, I think we were talking about fear, right? Fear being one of the most primal emotions of human beings and all those things. So, fear has been guiding us throughout this evolutionary line that we have crossed, this path. I mean, if we think about it, the fear of darkness was ended by fire, right? So, as it is said that, necessity is the mother of invention, many a times, subconsciously also, we end up inventing and discovering things which help us fight our own sense of fear. And fear is old. Fear is old. It is as old as our human race is, right? And now this story takes place at one of the most prominent colleges, not just in Bengal, but they have their branches throughout the nation. Okay, and most of the students, and this is a residential college. Okay, each department takes up to 20 to 30 students, and that's all. Okay, and it's an all boys college and all boys university, autonomous. So, and it is old. It is pretty old. Okay. Now, there's this thing attached to, such stories, and many a times they take place in areas which are old, right? Like from a bygone era. And I think there's a reason for that. Uh, that these places hold some sort of a memory, not in technical terms as we think about memory or cognition, but some sort of a vibe stays back, right? Like if you visit Taj Mahal on a moonlit night, you will feel a very I don't know, ethereal sensation if you think about how this was built years ago by people who are no more, right? Nobody remembers their name, but you stand there on that white marble under the moonlight, and you can sort of feel the presence of history uh, as an embodiment, if that makes any sense, right? Like you are standing there, and the fact that you are standing there has taken so much of time. The builders have built the Taj Mahal, and so many years have passed. The monument has seen so much of bloodshed and everything, and finally you, a student of the IITM BS degree, you are standing there. So it's like traveling through time, and time travel could be scary when the sun goes down. This particular incident happened in the aforementioned college, and this happened to a friend of my cousin's. Okay, and I won't go into too many details. So the campus is huge. It's a huge campus. The college is there, and then of course there are the hostels. Okay. Now each hostel has its own mess, so the students don't have to go to a particular, separate eat if like food court or something. They don't even have a food court inside the campus. Everything is outside. Inside the campus is huge. They have their playing ground, they have their swimming pools, they have their college, the admin building, and the hostels, right? Now, being a hostel, they used to study a lot, like, for long hours. Somebody might start studying in the evening and probably just pull an all-nighter, right? Things like that. Things you do in hostel. No rope, book, nothing, right? So, um, so imagine, I don't know how to. So imagine a square, okay, and you scoop out the beach wala part, okay. You are just left with the boundary. So that was the structure of the hostel, and the boundary has all the rooms, and wo jo beach wala part hai, which you have scooped out, it has a lawn kind of thing. It's just garden, okay. So this guy, I think he was in his second year when this happened. So there's this shrine. There was a shrine where the students used to pray in the evening, and just next to the shrine there was a reading room. Now this reading room is huge. Imagine a long, huge library kind of room where there are no bookshelves, just desks, columns of desks. जैसे आप लोग जब स्कूल में जाते थे, स्कूल में जैसे डेस्क रखे होते हैं, the way the desks are kept in school. Imagine your classroom has been elongated. Okay, there are three columns of benches, desks, and you sit on one of them and you do your study. And each desk, I think each desk or probably a pair of desks had a bright tube light at the top. Okay. So it was like rows of desks and rows of tube light. Okay. It was a huge room. So this guy decided to an all-nighter and he went there. Now, ऐसा नहीं था कि the hostel was empty. Everyone was in their room. Boys were just, like chilling with their friends and everything. But they were doing it in the ground floor, while the reading room was in the first floor. Okay. And the rooms, the students who used to live on the first floor, they were in their room. This reading room was sort of secluded. It was at one corner of the building. Okay. There was the shrine which was kept away, because usually you keep the places of worship which are situated in your house a little bit away from your daily places, like you wouldn't have, like आप लोगों में से जिसके घर में भी भगवान का सिंहासन है ऐसा कुछ है, इट इज आई एम प्रीटी श्योर इट इज नॉट नियर द डाइनिंग टेबल या टीवी के ऊपर, राइट? ऐसा नहीं है, इट इज ऑलवेज केप्ट एट अ पर्टिकुलर प्लेस. एंड सिमिलरली their shrine, which was a room, was considerably far from the students' room, and just next to the shrine was the reading room. So this boy was practically cut off from all the other students in the hostel. The hostel was bustling. It was not like it was a bangla, it was a hostel. Okay. But it was late at night. He started studying late at night, and he was studying and studying. And when he actually went to the reading room, the room was empty. There was no one. Yet all the lights of the room were on. All the lights. Each and every tube light was on. And he just went there and he didn't bother on them all. Okay? Now he was sitting. He sat down and started studying. It was evening, like late evening, and he started studying. And he was studying and studying and studying and everything. And while doing that, as it often happens, he dozed off. Okay? वो सो गया पढ़ते पढ़ते. Now, when he woke up, it was past midnight. रात के 12 पार हो चुके थे. He didn't have dinner. उसने रात का खाना भी नहीं खाया था, उसने सोचा पढ़ पढ़ के जाके थोड़ा लेट खा लूंगा, बट ही सिंस ही dozed off, he couldn't have his dinner, and it was like, so when he woke up, he slept so hard that when he woke up, he was not able to process where he was sitting, right? Like he just put his head up, and he saw the pages were wrinkled and everything because वो अपनी किताब पे ही सो गया था, right? So, and by the time he was trying to make sense of his surroundings, he noticed something and he heard something. Okay. Now, these tube lights I was talking about, these tube lights are like big, huge, old tube lights because this institution itself is old. Okay. It was established long back. And one special thing about these tube lights was that, when you turn them on or turn them off, they used to make a sound. There was this up, से आवाज आती थी. And he heard that sound. And he turned around and he saw that all the lights of the reading room from the last bench were going off, right? So it was like a shroud of darkness coming at him because he was sitting at the front area. And he noticed that all the lights were going off and this darkness was like chasing him, right? And before he could do anything, he figured out that there was this tall, lanky figure which was sort of running towards him in that darkness sort of thing. Like लाइट्स बंद हो रही थी तो रूम जैसे अंधेरा होता हुआ आ रहा था, और उस अंधेरे में उसने देखा कि एक ना पतला सा, दुबला पतला सा बट लंबा सा, बहुत लंबा, करीब 6-7 फीट वाला बंदा. He could figure out that it is a man. But there was one weird thing about this guy. His hands were longer than his knees. उसके हाथ जो थे, उसकी बाजू जो थी, वो उसके घुटनों से पार जा रहे थे. And this thing, with the darkness approaching, it was running towards him. Now, it could be the fact that, he woke up and he just, uh, like all of a sudden, he saw lights going off. Maybe he was scared and maybe he hallucinated the figure. But one thing was clear, that the lights were going off. And उसने आओ देखा ना ताओ. He didn't think of anything else. He simply got up, okay, left his books and notebooks and whatever stationery he was carrying over there, and he dashed out, okay. And while he was dashing out, he could clearly hear that a pair of steps was following him. He didn't have the gut to turn around and see who it was, but he could clearly figure it out that someone came out of that room, started running after him. And this boy was running through the corridor, crying and panting and everything. And I'm talking about a grown up guy, guys. He was in second year, as far as I remember. So he would be 19 or 20. Many of you are 19 and 20 years old, right? So you could imagine what it would take for a 19 or a 20-year-old person to cry and run terrified, right? And he was running like crazy. And then he also saw that none of the students were outside. So he realized that everybody is in their room. Only he was stupid enough to stay back in the reading room for such a long time. It was past midnight. And then he climbed down the stairs, okay? And while he was climbing down, because in his head, it didn't occur that he'll just run to the students living in the first floor. He just wanted to go to his own room, okay? And while he was running down the stairs, He, like my brother told me that, that boy, he didn't even know if he ran down the stairs or he just jumped the stairs and all those things, right? He ended up hurting himself, but he started running, limping towards his room, okay? But as he started limping, he again heard the footstep. And this time he could clearly figure it out that whatever was coming after him had also climbed down the stairs. And he realized that he cannot run with a limp leg. Okay. And he just decided the first room I come across, I'm going to bang the door. Okay. And he knew a few guys downstairs. His friends used to live downstairs. Okay. So जैसे ही सबसे पहला दरवाजा आया and he saw a little bit of light, he started banging on the door. Okay, he started banging on the door, and like the people inside, they were stunned. I mean, of course, he was banging on the door and asking his friends to open the door, right? And they opened the door, and this boy just came in, locked the door, and just rested his back on the door, and he was panting like anything. वो बहुत बुरी तरह से हांफने लगा. Okay, बहुत बुरी तरह से हांफने लगा. And his friends were like, dude, what happened? Like, कहाँ से आ रहा है तू इतनी रात को और ऐसे हाफ क्यों रहा है? And he said nothing. Okay, he said nothing. But by the time he could settle down, all of them, not just him, but all of them heard that a pair of footsteps, now walking slowly, one step at a time, came to the door, stood there, okay, and they could figure out that whatever had come had stood there, and this boy was like, don't open the door. He was like, isharo me. He was just signaling them that, don't open the door. And they heard the footsteps. And after a few moments, they again heard the footsteps, but this time it was going away. So whatever ran after this boy past 12 o'clock in the midnight was probably again going back to the reading room. So this is one story from that particular college, amongst a lot of other stories. Now, he told his friends, that what happened. And most of them wouldn't believe it, despite hearing the footsteps. They were thinking, it could probably be the warden. You ran like anything and everything. But he was not willing to, elaborate much because he knew what he saw. And it doesn't matter if the figure he saw was his hallucination or not. The lights were definitely going off. And he was definitely chased by something. And all he could muster up was that I was chased by darkness. But here lies the beautiful part of the story. He said that he was chased by darkness. And isn't that what all of us are afraid of? The thing in the dark. Because we can't see it. Because we can't measure it. Because we cannot gaze it. As we were talking, I think an hour back, that the fear of unknown is the most primal emotion human beings have. And if all of you are, someday able to visit the campus, do explore the campus at night, and you'll realize that, this fear of unknown, no matter how brave you are, no matter how educated or rational you are, when you're alone in the dark, it comes back to bite you. And that is what also happened to that boy. And people might not believe him, but I guess he's going to go to, I mean, he's going to take his last breath knowing what he had seen. And the tragic part is nobody would believe him. So, yeah.
Wow. That reminded me again of the story when you were narrating it the first time. This did bring in the chills back then, and this still brings the chills back now, right now. But
I'm glad you liked it, bro.
I love it. Okay, Second story, I think we'll do without the recording. So for now, I'll stop the recording and wait a second. Then we can go forward with the second one.